Snow covered the long highway like a white blanket, and the wind kept blowing without stopping. The sky was dark, and the storm was loud enough to shake any car passing through. A truck driver named Tom was trying his best to see through the storm as he drove toward a small town many miles away. He had been on the road since early morning, and the day had been long. But the blizzard forced him to slow down again and again. Every few minutes, strong wind pushed the truck to one side, and Tom had to grip the steering wheel with both hands to keep the truck steady. Tom was used to long drives. He had been a truck driver for many years and had seen snowstorms before, but this one felt different. The wind was colder, the snow was thicker, and the sky looked heavy as if more trouble was coming. Even with the heater on, the cold air inside the truck felt sharp. Tom knew that stopping on the open road could be dangerous because the snow could bury the truck. So he kept moving slowly. After some time, Tom thought he saw something on the side of the road. At first, he believed it was only snow blowing in the wind, but as he drove a little closer, he noticed a small shape moving. He leaned forward to see better. When the headlights hit the spot clearly, Tom felt his chest tighten. A woman stood on the side of the road, holding her arms close to her body. Her coat was thin, and her face was pale. She could barely stand in the strong wind. Tom pressed the brakes and brought the truck to a stop. Snow swirled around the truck as he opened the door. The cold wind hit him hard, but he shouted toward the woman, asking if she needed help. She did not answer right away. She looked frightened and unsure, but she also looked desperate. After a moment, she nodded slowly and tried to walk toward him, but her steps were weak. Tom climbed down from the truck and helped her up the steps. She almost fell while getting in, and Tom could feel how cold her hands were. She sat in the passenger seat shaking badly. Tom closed the door quickly and turned the heater to the highest level. The woman tried to speak, but her voice was faint. Tom handed her a thick blanket he always kept for emergencies. She pulled it around herself tightly and began to breathe a little easier. Tom asked her name. She whispered that her name was Lena. Her words came slowly, and she looked tired. Tom asked if she had a car. She said her car had stopped working an hour earlier, and she tried to walk toward the town to find help. Tom knew no one could walk far in such a storm. The cold air alone could make someone collapse. He felt lucky he had seen her in time. As Tom drove again, the road felt even more dangerous, but he was careful. The snow made everything look the same, and the strong wind whistled against the windows. Lena kept looking out the back window. Her eyes were full of worry. Tom noticed it and asked if something was wrong. She shook her head and said she was just scared because of the storm. Tom tried to believe that, but her fear did not look like fear of weather. It looked deeper, like she was running from something or someone. Tom did not push her for answers. He felt she needed time to calm down. After a few minutes, Tom noticed a dark vehicle far behind them. Its headlights flickered through the heavy snow. Tom watched it in the mirror. The vehicle did not pass them and did not fall back. It kept the same distance. Tom found it strange, but he tried not to worry. It was possible someone else was driving slowly because of the storm. The truck moved forward inch by inch. The blizzard grew stronger again. The wind shook the truck, and the road looked like a white river. Tom gripped the steering wheel harder and concentrated. Lena sat quietly, still wrapped in the blanket. She seemed lost in her thoughts. She did not speak much, but her eyes moved again and again to the side mirrors. Checking behind them, Tom wanted to ask more questions, but waited. He could feel that Lena was struggling with fear. When they reached a long straight part of the highway, Tom decided to speak again. He asked where she was trying to go. She said she was heading toward the town because she needed help from someone there. Her voice was still weak, but there was something serious in the way she said it. Tom asked if she had family or friends waiting. She shook her head and said it was not that simple. Tom felt confused, but he stayed kind. He told her she was safe inside the truck. She gave a small nod, but did not look relaxed. The dark vehicle behind them appeared again more clearly. Tom watched it from the mirror and saw it was still following at the same distance. The road was empty, and only their truck and the dark vehicle were out in the storm. Tom felt uneasy now. He asked Lena gently if she knew the car behind them. Her body stiffened for a moment. Then she said no. Tom could hear that she was not being honest, but he did not want to scare her more. He decided to keep driving and reach the next rest stop. It was still far, but safer than the open road. Minutes passed like hours. The storm kept covering the truck, and the cold air outside felt sharper. Tom kept watching the road and the mirror. He could feel the weight of the night. He could feel that this was not a normal rescue, and that Lena was hiding something important. When they finally reached the rest stop, Tom parked the truck near an empty lot. The place looked silent. Snow covered every roof and every bench. The lights flickered because of the wind. Tom stepped out to check the tires and the side of the truck. The air was freezing, and snow almost blinded him. Lena followed him out, even though she looked weak. She stood close to the truck and looked around like she expected someone to appear from the snow. Tom asked again if she was in danger. She looked at him with frightened eyes but did not answer. Instead, she said it was not safe to stop for long. She asked if they could move again soon. While she spoke, something fell from her coat pocket. Tom picked it up. It was a small badge, metallic, with some marks on it. It looked official, like something only important workers carried. Tom gave it back to her. Lena quickly hid it and said it was nothing she wanted to talk about. Her face turned pale, and her hands trembled. Tom understood now that Lena was not just a random traveler. She was connected to something serious. Something that made her walk through a freezing storm. Something that made a dark vehicle follow them through the night. Tom climbed back into the truck and started the engine again. Lena sat quietly beside him, still shaking. The dark vehicle appeared again on the highway behind them. Tom watched it and felt a cold feeling inside his chest. Something dangerous was happening, and he had unknowingly become part of it. As they drove back into the storm, Tom knew the night would not end as simply as he hoped. The blizzard was only part of the trouble. The real danger was still behind them, following through the snow. The truck moved slowly through the endless blizzard, and Tom tried hard to keep his eyes on the road. The storm made it difficult to see even a few steps ahead. Snow kept flying across the windshield and created a white curtain that blocked every shape. Tom kept his hands tight around the steering wheel because any sudden shift in the wind could push the truck off the road. The engine hummed softly, and the heater kept the inside warm. But the mood inside the truck felt heavy. Lena sat beside him, wrapped in the blanket. Her body had stopped shaking so much, but her face still looked worried. She kept glancing at the side mirror from time to time. Tom sensed her fear grow each time she looked behind them. He wanted to help her feel safe, but he knew she was keeping a secret. One that made her tremble with worry. The dark vehicle following them still kept the same distance. Tom watched it again in the mirror. It stayed back, but never disappeared completely. It was like a shadow moving through the storm. Tom found it strange because most drivers in a blizzard wanted to pass slow trucks, not stay behind them for hours. He wondered if the driver inside that vehicle was also afraid of the storm, or if the person had another reason to stay behind them. After a long silence, Tom asked Lena again if she was sure she did not know the vehicle behind them. Her eyes drifted to the mirror, then back to Tom. She whispered that she was not sure about anything anymore. Her voice cracked a little and she looked down at her hands. Tom could feel that she was close to telling the truth, but fear held her back. Tom did not push her. Instead, he spoke gently and told her that he had driven this truck for many years and had seen difficult nights. But this night felt different. He said he understood she was scared and that she did not have to tell him everything at once. He promised he would protect her as much as he could. Lena looked at him with soft eyes, and her shoulders relaxed slightly. It was clear his kindness gave her a small sense of safety. The storm outside grew louder. The wind slammed against the sides of the truck like strong waves. The road markers were hidden under the snow, and Tom had to trust his memory and instincts. The darkness made everything look uncertain. Lena asked if they were close to the town. Tom said it was still far, but they would reach it soon if the weather did not grow worse. He told her that he wanted to reach a safe place where they could rest, maybe a motel or a truck stop. Lena nodded. She leaned her head back and tried to breathe calmly. Her eyes closed for a moment, but each time the truck moved slightly or the wind howled, she opened them again. She was alert and tense. Tom could tell she was afraid of more than just the storm. The dark vehicle behind them came closer for a moment, then slid back again. The headlights glowed through the snow and created two bright circles behind them. Tom felt uncomfortable. He wondered if he should slow down or speed up, but both choices felt risky. The road was slippery, and any sudden move could cause the truck to slide. After another long stretch of silence, Lena finally spoke again. She said she had been on her way to the town because she needed to meet someone who could help her. Tom asked who that person was. Lena hesitated. She wrapped the blanket tighter and looked at the floor. She said the person was someone she trusted. She did not give a name. Tom did not want to force her to say more, but he knew the answer meant that her situation was serious. Tom asked if she had family waiting for her. She shook her head. He asked if she had friends nearby. She said no again. Her answers showed that she felt alone in this trouble, whatever it was. Tom felt sympathy for her. He knew what loneliness felt like during long trips, but he also knew her loneliness was different. Hers was filled with fear and worry. The wind outside softened for a moment, giving Tom a clearer view of the road. He used the chance to speed up just a little. Lena watched the dark vehicle again. It kept following, but it did not move closer. Tom wondered if the driver behind them was also waiting for something. Maybe they wanted Lena to stop. Maybe they did not want to drive too close because they were afraid Tom would notice something. Tom wanted answers. He looked at Lena and asked if she was running from someone. Her breathing grew uneven. She did not answer. Instead, she looked out the window, and her eyes filled with worry again. Tom realized he had asked the question she feared the most. He apologized softly and told her she did not need to explain if she felt unsafe. Lena turned and looked at him. Her eyes were filled with sadness and fear. She whispered that she did not know whom to trust anymore. Her voice was gentle, and her hands trembled slightly under the blanket. Tom told her she could trust him. He had no reason to harm her, and he only wanted to get her to safety. Lena nodded slowly. It was clear she wanted to believe him. A sudden gust of wind pushed the truck to one side, and Tom had to hold the wheel tightly. The storm had returned with full force. Snow blew across the front of the truck like thick waves. Tom turned the headlights to the highest level and kept moving carefully. The dark vehicle behind them faded in and out of view. Sometimes it was close. Sometimes it disappeared behind the heavy snow. Its movement made the night feel tense. After many minutes, Tom saw a faint sign through the snow. It was a distance marker for the next rest stop. He read it quickly before the snow covered it again. He told Lena they were getting close to a small rest area where they could stop for a moment. Lena looked nervous but nodded. Tom could see she did not want to stop, but she also looked very tired. When they reached the rest stop, Tom pulled into an empty spot near a small building. The building looked dark, and snow had covered the windows. The place looked abandoned because of the storm. Tom stepped out to stretch his legs again. The wind hit him hard, and snow flew against his face. He held onto the truck to keep his balance. Lena climbed out too, still holding the blanket around her. She looked around carefully. Her eyes moved from one corner to another like she was searching for signs of danger. Tom asked if she wanted to go inside the building, but she shook her head quickly. She said it would not be safe to stay long. Tom nodded. He could see she was truly afraid as Tom walked around the truck. Making sure everything was fine, he noticed that the dark vehicle had not entered the rest stop. Instead, it stayed on the highway, parked at a distance where its outline was barely visible through the snow. Tom felt a chill run down his spine. The way the vehicle stayed back made everything feel more suspicious. Lena stood beside the truck, looking at the highway. She whispered something to herself. Tom asked if she was all right. She nodded slowly, but her eyes did not leave the dark shape on the road. After a moment, she said they should keep moving. Her voice was soft but firm. Tom understood she was scared for a reason. Even if she could not say it yet, Tom went back inside the truck and Lena followed quietly. When Tom turned the engine on, the vehicle on the highway also began to move. Tom pressed his lips together. It was clear now that the dark vehicle was not a random traveler. Someone inside it was watching them closely. Tom did not know what danger he had entered, but he knew one thing with certainty. He would not leave Lena alone. He started driving again, determined to take her to safety. The storm might slow them, the night might hide danger, but he would keep moving. Lena held the blanket tighter and stared ahead. Her silence spoke more than words. She was scared, but she also had a purpose. Tom sensed she had something important she needed to protect or reveal. As they continued through the blizzard, the mystery around Lena deepened, and the danger behind them grew clearer. The night was long, and the truth was still hidden. But Tom knew one thing: their journey was far from over. The truck moved through the long night like a small ship caught in a rough sea. Snow kept blowing across the windshield, and the wind pushed the truck again and again. Tom had been awake for many hours, yet he stayed focused on the road. He knew that one small mistake could send the truck sliding off the highway. Inside the cabin, the heater worked hard, but the cold from outside still pressed against the windows. Lena sat beside him, holding the blanket close. Her face looked pale, but her eyes stayed alert. She kept checking the mirror from time to time. The dark vehicle behind them had not disappeared. It stayed in the distance, sometimes hidden by heavy snow, sometimes fully visible. Tom could feel the tension in the air each time she turned her head to look behind them. The silence between them grew heavier as the night went on. Lena seemed lost in her thoughts, and Tom did not want to disturb her. He knew she was carrying a secret, something that made her fear the shadow behind them. He waited patiently, hoping she would trust him enough to share the truth. The storm slowly softened. The snow continued to fall, but the wind became quieter for a moment. Tom used that small window to speed up slightly. As the truck moved faster, the dark vehicle behind them grew smaller, but it still did not vanish. It was like it wanted to stay close enough to watch, but not close enough to be caught. Tom cleared his throat and spoke gently. He told Lena she did not have to feel alone. He said he could see she was afraid of something more than the weather. He told her he wanted to help, but he could only do that if he understood the danger she was facing. Lena closed her eyes for a moment. She took a slow breath. When she opened them again, her expression had changed. The fear was still there, but now there was also determination. She knew she could not stay silent forever. She looked at Tom and said she would try to explain. Her voice was quiet as she began. She said she worked with an investigation team that handled important information. She did not say the name of the place, but it was clear it was something official. Earlier that day, she discovered documents that showed something wrong was happening. She did not explain the details, but Tom could hear from her tone that it was serious. She said she had planned to take the documents to a trusted officer in the town ahead. That officer was someone she knew well, and someone who always helped her team. She wanted to bring the information directly to him, so he could take the next steps. But someone found out she had the documents before she could deliver them. She did not know how they learned about it, but she believed someone inside the team was not loyal. When she tried to leave her workplace, she noticed a vehicle following her. She tried to take different roads to shake it off, but the vehicle stayed behind her. Then her car started having problems. Its engine lost power, and she had to stop in the middle of the storm. She tried to call for help, but the storm had damaged the signal, and her phone battery died soon after. She had no choice but to walk toward the town, hoping she could reach someone before the people following her caught up. The cold was stronger than she expected. She felt her body grow weaker with each step. She had almost given up hope when she saw the faint lights of Tom's truck. She said she felt confused and scared, so she did not explain everything at once. She feared Tom might not believe her, or might be connected to the people chasing her. Tom listened carefully. He did not understand everything she shared, but he understood enough to know she was in real danger. He asked her why the dark vehicle was still following them. She said the people inside wanted the documents back. She said she kept the documents hidden, and they had tried to catch her earlier, but the storm slowed everything. The blizzard gave her a chance to escape. Tom asked where the documents were now. Lena tapped her coat lightly. She said they were safe, but she needed to deliver them to the trusted officer before anyone else found her. she said once she reached him things would be clear. Tom nodded as he drove. He felt both nervous and determined. He had never been part of anything like this. He was a simple truck driver who lived a quiet life on the road. Yet now he was stuck inside a storm with a woman running from people who wanted something she carried. Still, he felt that helping her was the right thing to do. Lena spoke again after a moment. She said the officer in the town was the only one she trusted. She said he had always protected honest workers and made sure truth was not hidden. She believed he would know what to do once she handed him the documents. Tom told her he would make sure she reached that officer. He said he did not know much about such things, but he knew how to face a long night. He promised he would not leave her alone. Lena smiled faintly. It was the first small smile he had seen on her face. She thanked him with a soft voice. Tom felt a warm feeling inside. Even in a storm, kindness could reach someone's heart, but the danger had not passed. Through the side mirror, Tom saw the dark vehicle again. It had moved a little closer now that the wind had slowed down. Its headlights shined through the snow like two steady eyes. Tom gripped the steering wheel tighter. He did not want to stop until they reached the town. The sky grew darker again as another cloud moved over the moon. Snow thickened once more, and the road turned slippery. Tom slowed the truck. The dark vehicle slowed too. Lena looked behind them and took a sharp breath. She whispered that they needed to keep moving, because once the storm cleared, the followers might try to get closer. Tom nodded. He knew she was right. The storm was both their shield and their enemy. It slowed them down, but also kept the dark vehicle from getting close. Tom focused on the road. After a long time, they reached a wide, empty stretch of road. The snow softened here, and Tom could see a long distance ahead. The dark vehicle stayed behind, but kept its steady pace. Tom wondered how many people were inside it, and what they might try once they got closer to the town. Lena pulled the blanket closer and leaned forward slightly. She told Tom that if anything happened, he should not try to stop the followers. She said she would take responsibility because she was the one they wanted. Tom shook his head. He said he would not leave her alone. He said he would stay by her side until she reached the officer safely. Lena looked at him with wide, grateful eyes. The road stretched on for many miles. The storm grew weaker, and the snow slowed down. Tom could finally see the outline of tall trees on each side of the highway. He knew the town was now closer. The thought of reaching safety gave him new energy. Lena's fear grew stronger as they got closer to the town. She knew once the storm cleared, the followers might make a move. She asked Tom to take a smaller road near the forest area, believing it would allow them to enter the town quietly. Tom agreed and took the exit she pointed at. The smaller road was narrow and covered in thick snow, but Tom drove carefully. The trees on both sides blocked the wind. The dark vehicle followed them onto the smaller road. Tom felt a rush of worry. Lena held her breath. She kept turning her head to see where the vehicle was. Tom could feel the danger closing in. Suddenly, the road curved sharply. Tom slowed down. The truck made the turn safely. The dark vehicle took the same turn but skidded slightly, its tires sliding on the icy road. Tom watched it through the mirror. The vehicle recovered but fell farther behind. Lena whispered that they were almost safe. She pointed to a faint sign showing the town's border just a few miles ahead. Tom nodded and kept going. But safety was still not certain. The storm faded just enough for the danger to grow clearer. The night still held more surprises. Their next challenge waited at dawn. The blizzard slowly softened during the night, but the sky still carried a pale, cold glow. Rafik woke first. He had not slept well because he kept thinking about Mira and the strange fear she felt whenever she tried to remember her past. He sat up in the driver's seat and looked toward the small bed where Mira had been resting. She was awake and sitting quietly with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She looked calm, yet her eyes showed a restless thinking, as if her dreams had been mixed with shadows she could not understand. Rafik greeted her with a gentle smile. She returned it, though she still seemed worried. Rafik asked her if she had slept well. She said she had rested, but her mind had been full of pictures. Strange buildings, empty roads, and a signboard that she could almost read, but the words slipped away each time she tried to remember. She said it felt like her mind was trying to show her something important. Rafik told her not to pressure herself. Sometimes memories came back at the right moment, and he believed her situation would become clear. He suggested they continue toward the nearest town because someone there might know her, or she might recognize a place. Mira agreed. She trusted Rafik now. He had shown nothing but kindness from the moment he found her in the storm. He turned on the truck engine. It hummed in the morning cold. The heater filled the cabin with warm air, and for a moment, both felt safe again. The road ahead looked better than the previous night, though the snow was still patchy in many places. Rafik began driving slowly as the truck moved forward. Mira looked out the window. The world felt wide yet familiar. She watched the rising sun touch the white ground, and something about the scene sent a soft spark of memory into her mind. She told Rafik that the sun over the snowy fields reminded her of a day when she was walking with someone, but she could not see the person's face. Rafik asked if she remembered anything about that person, but she said the image faded before she could hold it. She felt a bit frustrated, but Rafik reminded her that even small pieces mattered. He wrote down everything she described in a small notebook he kept for logging his travel details. Mira appreciated that he took her memories seriously. They drove for an hour without seeing any other vehicle. The storm from the night before had kept most people indoors. The silence around them felt peaceful, though Mira still felt as if something was unfinished. She looked at Rafik and said she was grateful that he had stopped for her. She wondered what might have happened if he had not found her. Rafik told her that no person deserved to be left alone in such weather. He said he believed that people were meant to help each other, especially in difficult times. Soon they reached a long stretch of forest on both sides of the road. Tall trees stood heavy with snow. As they passed through, Mira suddenly leaned forward and pressed her hand against the window. She said she had seen something familiar. Rafik slowed the truck and asked her what she noticed. She pointed toward a small service road that led into the forest. She said she did not know why, but she remembered walking down a similar path. Rafik asked if she wanted to check it. She hesitated, but then nodded. They stopped the truck on the side of the road. The wind was calm now, and the air had a fresh scent of pine. They stepped out of the truck. Mira walked slowly toward the service road, and Rafik followed closely, making sure she felt safe. She stared ahead as if she were searching for a picture hidden among the trees. After a few minutes, she stopped and closed her eyes. She said she felt she had been there before, or somewhere that looked very close to it. She could sense a strong memory trying to reach her. Rafik encouraged her to take her time. She stood quietly for a moment and then opened her eyes. She said that something here made her think she had been running before the storm grew strong. She felt as if someone had called her name, but she still could not hear it clearly. They stayed there for a while, but the path did not reveal anything more. They returned to the truck. Mira felt slightly disappointed but also hopeful because her memories were slowly becoming clearer. Rafik assured her that even tiny steps mattered. He believed she was close to remembering something important. Once they were back on the main road, the drive continued. The landscape began to change. They saw a few houses scattered far in the distance. Smoke came from chimneys, showing that families inside were warm and awake. Mira watched them with a strange longing. She said the sight of smoke rising in the cold air made her feel like she had once been part of a family or a small community. She said she remembered the smell of warm soup and the sound of someone stirring a pot, though she could not tell who it was. After another hour, they reached the outskirts of a small town. The snow there had been cleared in some places, and a few vehicles were slowly moving around. Rafik parked near a diner, hoping Mira might recognize someone or something. They stepped inside. The warm aroma of food spread around them. The place had wooden tables and a bright counter. The people inside looked at them, because it was rare to see travelers after such a heavy storm. Rafik and Mira took a seat near the window. A server came to take their order. She smiled at Mira and asked if she was new in town. Mira hesitated because she did not know how to explain her situation. Rafik answered politely, saying they were passing through. While they waited for food, Myra looked around the diner. A picture on the wall caught her eye. It showed a group of people standing in front of a cabin. She stared at it for a long time. Something about the cabin looked close to a place she had seen in her fading memories. She asked the server about it. The server said it was a small lodge outside town, owned by a family who had lived there for many years. Mira felt a warm pull inside her chest. She said the cabin felt familiar, even though she had never seen that exact picture before. Rafik suggested they visit the lodge after eating. Mira agreed. She felt a strong hope rising inside her. She believed she was close to something important. Maybe even the truth about who she was. They finished their meal and walked back to the truck. The weather had cleared more by then, and the sun shone gently on the snowy rooftops. Rafik drove toward the lodge road while Mira kept watching every tree and fence they passed. When they reached the turnoff, Mira felt her breath catch. The road toward the lodge looked almost exactly like the memory she had seen in her mind earlier. Small wooden posts lined the road, and the path curved like the one she had imagined. She asked Rafik to slow down. Her heartbeat grew faster. She said she could feel something calling her. Not in sound, but in a quiet feeling deep inside her. As the lodge came into view, Mira held her hands tightly together. She looked at the building with wide eyes. Something about it struck her very deeply. She said she remembered standing on a similar porch but could not remember when or why. Rafik parked the truck near the lodge entrance. Before they stepped out, he looked at her and told her that no matter what they found, he would stay close and help her. She nodded gently. But before they could walk toward the porch, Rafik noticed something strange. Several vehicles were approaching from behind them. The lights on top of the cars were all flashing. They were official vehicles. Their tires moved slowly but firmly over the snow. Rafik felt confused. Mira looked at him, unsure of what was happening. The vehicles stopped around the truck. Officers stepped out and stood in careful positions. No one raised their voice, and no one acted aggressive, but the air felt tense. One of the officers called out Rafik's name. Rafik raised his hand slightly to show he meant no harm. He asked what was going on. The officer said they needed to speak to him about a report made earlier that morning. Myra looked frightened, and Rafik tried to keep her calm. He told her it would be fine. The officer stepped closer and said they had received a call that someone matching Mira's description had been reported missing by a local family. The officer added that they needed to confirm her identity. The moment Mira heard that, her eyes widened. Something inside her recognized the words. Even though she did not fully understand them yet, the officers did not act rude or harsh. They simply stood around the truck waiting for answers. Waiting for Myra to remember, Rafik held her hand gently and told her that maybe this was the moment her truth would come forward. Her heart beat fast as the morning light brightened the snowy lodge behind them. Something inside her mind felt ready to unlock, and the truth stood just a breath away. The cold morning air felt sharp as the officers stood around the truck. But the tension came from something deeper than the weather. Rafik kept one hand raised and one hand gently placed near Mira's shoulder. Mira stood close to him, unsure of what was happening, but feeling that the moment was important. The officer who had spoken earlier stepped forward again. He said they were not there to arrest anyone. They only wanted to confirm Mira's identity because a missing person report had been filed in the area. Mira's heart began to beat faster. She swallowed and asked what the report said. The officer checked a small tablet in his hand and explained that a family living near the lodge had called early that morning. They said a young woman from their family had gone missing the previous evening. She had stepped out for a walk before the storm grew too strong and never returned. The family had searched on their own until the weather became too dangerous. When the officer finished speaking, Mira felt a strange heaviness in her chest. The words felt close to her truth, yet she still could not pull the full memory out. She looked at the lodge behind her, then at the quiet road they had just driven from, and then at Rafik. His calm expression encouraged her to speak. She told the officer that she remembered walking in the snow, but did not remember where she had been going. The officer listened with patience. He said the family described a young woman with the same height, hair, and clothing Mira had been wearing when Rafik found her. They asked if she had any identification, but she shook her head. She said she woke up covered in snow with no belongings. Another officer approached slowly and asked Mira if she remembered the name Liana. When Mira heard the name, she froze. She touched her forehead and closed her eyes. Something inside her mind felt as if it had been locked behind a door that was now opening. The name Liana echoed through her memory. She whispered that she recognized it. She said she did not know how, but the name felt like it belonged to her. The officers exchanged a quick glance. One of them said the missing woman's name was Liana. Mira felt her breath shake. She placed a hand against the truck door for support. Rafik stepped closer to her, careful not to pressure her. He asked if she wanted to sit. She said she was fine, but needed a moment. As the moments passed, her memories began to return slowly. She remembered walking through snow the previous evening. She remembered hearing the storm grow louder. She remembered calling out to someone but losing her way when the wind pushed against her. She told the officers that she remembered trying to find shelter near the forest. She said she must have walked far from the lodge without realizing how far she had gone. The officer nodded and said that the storm had been strong enough to confuse anyone. He also said the family had been very worried and had been waiting for any information. Rafik asked if they were allowed to go to the lodge, so Myra could see if she recognized anyone. The officer agreed. He said they only needed to escort them to ensure everything went smoothly. Rafik looked at Mira and asked if she was ready. She nodded softly, though her hands were still trembling slightly. They walked together toward the lodge. The snow crunched under their boots, and the cold wind brushed across their faces. The officers followed behind but kept a respectful distance. The lodge looked warm and welcoming from the outside. Smoke rose gently from the chimney, and the wooden porch creaked as they stepped onto it. Before they could knock, the lodge door opened. A middle-aged couple stood there, and behind them, a few younger people peeked from inside. The woman at the front covered her mouth with her hands. Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered the name Liana. Hearing the name again made Mira's heart tremble. She stared at the woman's face. Slowly, a soft memory rose inside her, like the quiet return of sunlight. She remembered this woman calling her name before the storm. She remembered the same warm porch. She remembered a table inside the lodge where they would all sit together. She remembered laughter and warm soup. She remembered that the woman had always looked at her with kindness. The woman rushed forward, tears falling, and hugged her gently. Mira felt a warm wave inside her chest. She did not remember everything clearly, but she remembered the feeling of safety. The man stepped forward next and placed a hand on her shoulder. He said that they had been searching all night, fearing that she had been caught in the storm. His voice shook with relief. The officers stepped back, giving them space. Rafik watched the scene quietly. He felt deeply relieved. He had hoped that Mira would find her place. And now, it was happening right in front of him. The couple invited everyone inside the lodge. The officers entered only for a short moment to confirm that everything was settled. They told Myra they were happy she was safe. After a few more formal questions, they left. Inside the lodge, the air was warm, and a kettle whistled softly in the kitchen. The family guided Myra to a chair near the fireplace. One of the younger women brought her a cup of warm tea. Mira held it with both hands, letting the heat calm her. The woman who had hugged her earlier sat beside her. She explained that Mira had arrived at the lodge a few months ago. She had been traveling through the region and had stayed with them after making friends in the area. The family had grown close to her, and she had planned to stay for the winter. Myra listened carefully. Some of the memories came back. Others were still unclear, but she remembered the warmth of the place and the kindness of the people. She told the woman that she had lost her memory after the storm and that Rafik found her alone on the road. The family turned to Rafik with gratitude. They thanked him repeatedly for saving her. Rafik smiled shyly and said he only did what any person should do. He explained how he had found her on the ground in the storm. He said he only wanted to keep her safe until she recovered. The man of the house placed a hand on Rafik's shoulder and said that his act of kindness had kept their family whole. The younger woman brought more tea and thanked him again. As they talked, Mira continued to regain small pieces of her memory. She remembered helping in the kitchen. She remembered walking near the forest to collect firewood. She remembered the view from the porch during calm mornings. She remembered laughing with the younger members of the family while sharing stories. Finally, she turned to Rafik and said that she felt as if a big part of her had been returned. She said she would always remember his kindness. Rafik told her that he was happy she was safe and that she had found her way back to her people. The family invited Rafik to stay for a warm meal before he continued his journey. He accepted politely. They ate together at the long wooden table inside the lodge. The air was filled with soft voices, warm food, and quiet joy. As they talked, Myra kept looking at Rafik with gratitude. She knew that without him, she might not have survived the storm. She also knew that his kindness had guided her back to her life. After the meal, Rafik prepared to leave. The sun had risen higher, and the roads were clearer. Mira walked with him to the porch. The air outside was cold, but peaceful. She thanked him again for helping her when she could not help herself. Rafik told her she did not owe him anything. He said it had been an honor to help someone brave enough to keep going even when the world felt lost. She wished him safe travels. He wished her a peaceful future. They shared a warm smile. It was not the smile of strangers, but of two people who had walked through fear and uncertainty together. Rafik climbed into his truck. The engine started with a steady hum. Mira stepped back and watched as he drove slowly down the snowy road. She felt a sense of calm she had not felt since waking up in the storm. She knew she was finally home. As Rafik's truck disappeared behind the trees, she placed a hand close to her heart. She whispered a quiet thank you to the world for sending him her way. She turned and walked back into the lodge where her family waited with open arms. Rafik continued his journey across the winter roads, carrying with him a story he would never forget. A story of a freezing woman, a blizzard, a night full of fear. In a morning where truth and kindness brought light back into someone's life, it became a memory he would keep forever. A reminder that even in the coldest storms, a single kind act could change the whole direction of someone's world. And Mira, now knowing her name again, lived with a renewed sense of peace, grateful for the road that had led her back to her own life.